Hey everybody, good morning. How are you? I've got to figure out where the camera is here. It's down there in the corner, so I'll try to look there. If you guys have ever done a video, it's really hard not to look at yourself and to look into the camera. So I'm just here in my kitchen, broke my fast, had some scrambled eggs and avocado. So I'll just wait for a couple people to tune in, and I'm going to talk about what keto is not, some myths around keto. And if you guys have questions, please just add a question in the comments, and I'll be happy to try to answer them. So I like to post a few questions on my wall and see where people are at with things and where, you know, your understanding is with this whole keto space, because there's a lot of misunderstanding in this world. A lot of people will assume things, and I just wanted to clarify some things for you guys. If you care to listen, if you don't, you can tune out. I really don't care. Actually, I do care, because I really want you to learn and hear the truth. And as somebody who's been studying and, you know, helping people and in nutrition now for, oh gosh, it's 27 years. It's scary how long it's been, because I've been around, I've seen a lot of trends come and go. And the interesting thing is that this whole trend towards low carbohydrate living is definitely not going away. And it's definitely a way of living that is sustainable if it's done right. And it's definitely, in my opinion, one of the healthiest ways to be. Because we know that excessive carbohydrate consumption, especially from processed carbohydrates, is a problem. Okay, so I'm not saying carbs are bad. So don't hear me wrong. I am not saying all carbohydrates are bad. So let's just make sure we make that clear. And I want to just go through a couple of definitions with you guys so we can all be on the same page here, and just kind of bring you back to some basics of nutrition. So that you understand what I'm talking about. And if it's still not clear, then you can come back, rewind the video, and take some notes so you're clear in your head. And it's funny, because in university, when I learned all this stuff, I always wondered, like, why am I learning this over and over and over again? And it's really because it's complicated, right? It's hard to understand the basics sometimes. And that's what I'm hoping to explain to you guys today. So first of all, 3 things I want you to know about nutrition, and that is what we call macronutrients. These are nutrients that are in all foods, and there's 3 of them, arguably 4, and I'll explain that in a minute. So there's actually 5 macronutrients if we count alcohol, but really alcohol is not really giving us nutrition. So, but it does have caloric value. I don't like to consider it a nutrient because it's not a good one. So the 3 macro, meaning big nutrients, are carbohydrates. These are things that are like our breads, our pastas, vegetables, fruits, cereals, grains, all those things. Those are carbohydrates mainly. Okay, so those would be kind of lumped into that category. Our second class of macro big nutrients is protein. So protein would be found in meats, fish, eggs. Some nuts and seeds have higher amounts of protein. Nuts and seeds are a weird one, because nuts and seeds have all 3 macronutrients. They actually have carbs, protein, and fat, which I'm going to talk about. So best sources of protein, in my humble opinion, are animal foods, because they are complete proteins, especially red meat. And a lot of people will get all up in arms about me saying that, but it's a fact. And we can argue about that offline if you like. So you can also take a protein powder or a protein supplement, but I always recommend to try to get your protein requirements from real food, animal foods first. And if you're lacking in protein, or you have a hard time stopping to eat a real meal with real food, then okay, default to a protein shake. But it should not be the sort of the staple of protein in your diet, because not all protein shakes are complete proteins. So it's important that you consider that when you are taking a protein shake or some kind of like a meal replacement. You're best to eat your protein and chew it. Okay, best to eat the food over drinking the protein, especially protein. So the third macronutrient or big nutrient is fat. And there's all different kinds of fats, guys. And fat is not bad. Fat is not the devil. We were led to believe that fat was bad in the 1970s. And then this whole low carb movement started. It was Dr. Ansel Keys who started this. And if you look at the history of what he did, he basically villainized fat, especially saturated fat. But he based it on basically no evidence. He completely neglected to include data, and he just threw it out because he wanted to prove his hypothesis. His hypothesis was that fat causes atherosclerosis or clogging of the arteries, because that is what they found on the inside of the arteries was a lot of, LDL cholesterol. And so he said, well, it's the fat that's making your arteries blocked. It's the fat that's making you fat. And therefore, since the 1970s, perhaps the late 1960s even, this whole low carbohydrate movement came into fashion, and we started to see, low fat foods and all this kind of stuff. What did they replace the fat with? High processed carbohydrates generally, okay? So with that being said, I want to clarify too, keto, the word keto does not mean high fat necessarily, okay? The word keto is just an abbreviation. It doesn't actually define anything. So one of my biggest pet peeves in this whole space is when you see a food that, now food companies, obviously, they're trying to make money, they're catching on. And so what do? They label their food a keto snack or a keto bar or a keto whatever. A piece of meat is keto, right? And it doesn't really mean anything. It just means that food has a negligible amount of carbohydrate in it. But even some keto foods that are labeled keto, and this is what drives me the most crazy, they actually end up increasing your blood sugar levels. They actually have carbohydrates in them because there's no legal definition with the FDA or Health Canada for the term keto. So companies can label anything keto and get away with it. And really, it's kind of unfortunate because they're preying on the naive consumer that, you're just going to fall for marketing and go, oh, keto equals healthy. No, keto does not necessarily equal healthy. It's just a marketing ploy. Okay, so please, buyer beware of those keto snacks. So a lot of times too, just on that note, a lot of keto foods are full of added ingredients and processed ingredients that are not good for us. So you've got to watch it, right? Because you don't want to replace one carbohydrate processed food with a lower carb keto processed food. It's still processed. So my advice to you in terms of what to eat, I love this acronym. It's JERF, just eat real food. It's kind of like jerk with an F, JERF, just eat real food. And guys, real food is single ingredient foods, meat, vegetables, one thing, right? It doesn't have multiple ingredients. So remember that when you're making food choices. Now, one of the misconceptions, keto, when people see that word keto, they automatically assume that this is a high fat diet. The keto diet is not necessarily a high fat diet. It really should be called a ketogenic diet, okay? Because listen to the word ketogenic. Genic, that word actually means genesis or generation of ketones. So any diet that you do, whatever it is, that makes your body produce ketones, and this ketones are produced through the metabolism of fat, okay? This happens, it's a process in your liver. It's natural. Everybody does it, hopefully, because it's a natural process and your body should be able to convert fat into ketones. So what happens is if you eat a high fat diet, you are actually converting the fat that you eat into ketones, okay? This is where I agree, Rob DeBoer, if you're watching with Rob, is that if you have a lot of fat to lose, and you add fat into your diet, do you really think that your body is going to burn its own body fat over the fat that you consume? No, because the fat that you consume is way easier to get at for energy than the fat on your body. So The reason why the ketogenic diet works, that is a high fat diet, is because when you have a lot of body fat to lose and you are only a sugar burner, meaning that you have no ability to use your body's fat, otherwise you wouldn't be fat. And I'm not being fat shaming here or anything. It's just the reality. You would not have excess body fat if your body was burning its own fat, right? I mean, that's logic. So the reason that people will do well, at least initially with a higher fat diet when they have fat to lose, is because by inputting more fat into your diet, it allows your body to produce more ketones. What happens when you produce more ketones? You have more energy. Your brain feels better. It's more satiating, meaning you feel fuller. You're not going to have all those cravings. And so that is why people typically tend to do well on a higher fat diet if they can manage the amount of fat that they're eating. Because this is where people screw up with the ketogenic diet. They think, I need to eat all this fat. And they think it's like a high volume of fat, and it's not. It's actually very little if you were to actually weigh and measure it, okay? And so this is where I see people screwing up completely with the ketogenic diet, and they think, oh, I'm not getting in my fat macros, and they try to like eat all this fat, and they're eating fat bombs, and they're like drinking coconut oil, and like, it's not a good idea, guys, okay? Because you are just adding in energy into your system, and your body therefore will never release its own fat from the fat cells. Yes, have a bit of fat because it's going to satiate you, and it's going to be easier for you to resist the carbohydrates and, like the processed foods and overconsumption, okay? Because really, ultimately, this is about overconsumption. We need to keep that energy, the balance of energy needs to be relatively stable, and we want to be in a moderate, this is key, moderate caloric deficit. If you back yourself into a severe caloric deficit corner, you will screw yourself up. And I've seen this too with people who have done like the Bernstein diet, is basically like a starvation diet. Do not do that, okay? You want to just slowly, because you have something called a metabolic set point, you want to slowly lower the calories. You don't want to do it overnight. Your body will freak out. And anyway, so that's a little bit about carbohydrates, protein, and then of course, fats. We have all different kinds of fats, and I got off on a tangent there, but there are many different kinds of fats. And guys, the healthiest fats, despite what, I don't know, whoever you read or whatever, the real science on fat is that saturated fat is fine as long, and it's actually better quality for you, because that is what your cell membranes, all your little, I think you have like something like 780 billion million, I can't even remember the number, cells in your body. All your cell membranes, guess what they're made of? They're made of saturated fat. So if you don't have saturated fat coming in, it's very hard for your cell membranes to function properly. So what are saturated fats? Coconut oil, grass-fed butter, and I say grass-fed because it's really important that you eat dairy from cows that have been fed grass, otherwise you're dealing with inflammation. So grass-fed butter, ghee, things like avocado oil, which is not saturated, but it's very stable, and olive oil would be your best choices for fat. Then we also have things like ghee, which is clarified butter, okay? And then when you're eating your animal protein, you want to eat the fat on the meat if, this is the caveat, if you're eating grass-fed animals. If you are eating your regular like grain-fed grocery store ground beef special, then you definitely want to get the leanest cut of meat possible, okay? Because the fat in the meat is important. You are what the meat you ate. So if the meat, like the cow that you're eating, is eating corn that's been sprayed with glyphosate, guess what you're eating, right? You're gonna have that. You're gonna have that in your body. It's gonna be assimilated into your fat cells. It's a toxin, not a good idea. So get the best quality meat you can afford. If you can't afford grass-fed, then definitely go with lean cuts of meat. And you can have, fats that you cook in, like your butter and your coconut oil, or like the fats that you put on your salad dressing. Anyway, I digress. So I've talked about that keto diet is not necessarily a high-fat diet. A keto diet, a ketogenic diet, is a diet that generates ketones. And as long as you are generating ketones, it's considered ketogenic. It doesn't mean that you have to eat 75, 85% of your calories from fat. It just means that you want to find the amount of food that you can consume that allows you to generate ketones. Now, having said all that, we can make this so much simpler, guys. So much simpler, because one of the biggest, and this, if you're listening right now, please stop what you're doing, pay attention, because this is the biggest misconception, one of my biggest frustrations in this world, in this space right now, is that the minute I say ketones, i.e. drinking ketones, people automatically assume I'm talking about doing some crazy ketogenic diet. That is not true, okay? Drinking ketones does not equal doing the keto diet, okay? They are two completely separate things. Now, having said that, if you want to do the keto diet and drink ketones, you will probably get a synergistic or compounding, more beneficial effect as long as you're doing the ketogenic diet properly and you're not over consuming fat, i.e. too much energy, too much calories, okay? When I drink ketones, guess what I'm doing? I am actually getting ketones into my system within 20 minutes. So my body doesn't even need to do anything to get that energy. So why would you add more fat into your diet if you're already getting the energy that you were hoping for from the fat anyway, right? It doesn't make sense. Does that make sense to you guys? This is basically, ketones is essentially, it is the purest form or the most simplest form of energy that your cells can use to create human energy, known as ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, it is the simplest form of energy from fat. So one of the really cool things, and I don't want to get into a diatribe here on Prove It ketones, but they really are the best. They're 100% natural, made via fermentation. So there's no chemical process to make them. And also the second huge thing, guys, with Prove It ketones is that they are the only ketones in the world that are 100% bioidentical, which means that if I were to blood test you after drinking ketones and you we didn't know if you had done a keto diet or were fasting maybe to produce your own ketones from your body fat, we could not tell the difference between drinking these and the ketones that you would actually create, okay? They are bioidentical, which means that your cells recognize them 100% and use them 100% for energy. That is why they are so powerful. And when you drink ketones, let me make sure that you get this. When you drink ketones, you do not, I repeat, you do not need to do a strict keto diet. Okay? Is that clear? Are we good? That is the biggest myth out there. That is the biggest reason why people will not touch ketones to drink, because they think, well, I can't change, I'm not going to do this high fat crazy keto diet. No, you don't need to. You don't need to. What did I say right at the beginning? What's the best diet? First of all, the diet that you'll do, and the JERF diet, just eat real food diet, okay? If your diet is composed of nothing but processed food, prepared food, prepackaged foods, tons of snacks, all those kinds of things, that's not real food. Real food, steak, chicken, eggs, vegetables, avocados, some fruit. That's real food. Some nuts, some seeds, right? You know, one of the things that, before I finish this off, and this is so funny because when I started CrossFit, which was now 14 years ago, we had a nutrition component in our course. And Greg Glassman, who's the founder of CrossFit, his definition of proper nutrition, which to me is the best definition still to this day, is eat protein, meat, okay? Eat meats, vegetables, nuts and seeds, a little bit of fruit, a little bit of starch, no sugar, and eat in a quantity that sustains a body composition that does not have excessive fat. So that feeds the activity level that you're doing. That definition, and I'll post it in the comments, that definition is, to me, If you can follow that, listen to it again. Eat meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, a little bit of fruit, a little bit of starch, no sugar, and just eat to levels that will support your energy output, okay? And that will maintain healthy body composition, so lower body fat. That's really how simple it is. So guys, I hope that clears up some myths, gives you some basic definitions. Drinking ketones does not mean you need to do a strict keto diet. If you are somebody who needs a meal plan, if you are somebody who's like, okay, Jen, well, what do I eat? Let me know. I'll send you a quick little kind of example. It's like a 7-day guide that I can send you. It has a shopping list. It has for portions for men and women. It tells you exactly what to eat. Mind you, it is incorporating ketones, and the reason for that is because this will help you. Ketones will help you to overcome those cravings, to overcome those addictions, to overcome, you know, the chocolate that's sitting in my cupboard now for like 6 months that I haven't touched, right? Like I'm just not interested in it because I don't have the cravings. I don't want that sugar. It just doesn't appeal to me. I feel good. I have energy. Everything's great. So if you want to feel like that, if you want to have energy, if you want mental clarity, if you want to help your body lose some body fat, if you want to sleep better, if you want to be in a better mood, if you want to like really change things and change perspective on things, then I really, really recommend, guys, starting with what is called the 10-day Drink Ketones Challenge. This will give you a variety box of flavors, 20 packs in total. And I usually suggest to people to get 2 boxes to start so you have enough for a full 20 to 30 to 40 days, depending how many you use per day. You really want to give this a good shot, like a good 30 to 60 days is what I recommend that people start with, okay? And this is a starting point to your journey to better health. So hopefully this all makes sense. Guys, please reach out to me or anybody who shared this video with you. Feel free to share it. You don't need to ask. If you have questions about ketones or diet, or you're just not sure what to do, or you're struggling, or you've hit a plateau. By the way, plateaus are not bad. It means you haven't gotten worse, right? So don't ever feel bad about a plateau, because a plateau is a nice solid surface that you can launch yourself off of to the next level. So I actually like plateaus. It means that I'm not getting worse. So if you guys need help, just reach out. I'm always happy to chat. One last thing, guys, I have a few spots left for a prototype program that I am running. The qualifications for this are that you are not, I repeat, that you are not a current Prove It customer or drinking ketones of any kind, and that you have 10 or more pounds of body fat that you want to lose. Message me if you'd like to be part of this group, because we're launching it ASAP. Our pre-work week is starting on Monday next week. So if you're interested in being part of that, just message me. I'm sorry for all of you guys that are already customers and promoters or within the Prove It community. This is strictly for new people who have no idea, who have never touched ketones or even like heard of all of this. So if you have 10 or more pounds of fat that you want to lose, please reach out and I will get you the application, because there is an application that you have to agree to certain things before I will work with you, because it's a lot of time and energy on my part, and I will give you tremendous value. The value of this program, guys, is well over $3,000, and that is what people will be paying once this prototype group is done. I'm just working out the bugs, and I want to make sure it's good before I launch it. And so that will be something that's available on a monthly basis to people. But if you want to be part of my prototype test group, let me know. There is no cost associated with it other than the cost of your ketones. And I will send you the application if you'd like to be part of that. I have a few spots left. So let me know. I'm here to help you move you in the right direction for your health, your well-being, your body composition, your performance, your sleep, your mindset, your mood, everything. If not now, guys, then when? Okay. If not now, when are you going to take charge of your health? Your health, you guys know, is everything, right? So anyway, I've rambled on long enough. If you just tuned in, guys, go back, review. You can always go back to the beginning, comment, message, reach out, share the video, tag someone who maybe needs a kick in the butt or a nudge or some help, and let's get them started. And I'm here for you guys, so let me know what I can do. All right, have a great day, guys. We'll see you soon. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye.